Hey everyone, and welcome back to Be a Warrior podcast, and happy September. I cannot believe we are in September. That just is like the craziest thing ever. I don't know where this summer went, but I do know I spent most of it in Boston. For those of you that have been listening, I had a revision surgery and an AMI procedure done in June at Mass General, all through a program they're doing through MIT to get ready for myoneural knees that are coming out from MIT's amazing students and faculty. But I have been going through the process of also getting a new knee. And with that comes really weeks of trialing other knees that I don't have. Like I wear an Autobox C leg for those of you that are amputees. This is an Autobox C leg that I wear, but I've been trying other ones. I've tried a power knee. I've tried a Oser waterproof leg knee. So there's other things out there, and I'm just, now that I've got almost 7 years of experience under my belt, I know how to walk. I know what gait I like, when I feel unstable, when I feel stable. Now is the time for me to press on and try different things. But for the first 6 years, my Autobox C leg has been phenomenal. And I think while you're just learning how to re-walk again, you want something that's reliable and stable, and that your prosthetist really can back you on. And my prosthetist knew that the C leg was good for me, and so that is the one I was using for the first 6 years. But I have matured, I have grown, I know what my goals are now that I'm 6 years in, and what I really want to accomplish. So now I'm going for something new, and that in and of itself is a process. But today, I've been sitting there watching what big things are coming up on our amputee Facebook groups, and what you hear amputees talking about, new and old amputees alike. When there is an issue, it's interesting to see the problems come out in these groups. And I thought today I wanted to really kind of address the problems that come up. And I feel like I've beaten this horse too many times, but I don't think it can be said enough that becoming an amputee, obviously the very first part and the first hurdle is mentally either preparing yourself because you've elected to become an amputee like I did, or you're trying to mentally wrap your head around that not being an option, and your leg being taken away from you, or your arm, or whatever, you're an amputee. For those of you that have been listening, I usually only speak to my type of amputation because I don't have an expertise in anything else. So I talk about legs. So my apologies if you're an upper limb. It's still going to be the same thing for you. It just may not be the same per se when it comes to most of my topics, because I talk about walking and trust and the pain of having to put your leg into a socket every time. So that being said, I am an above knee amputee, and I elected, and I was able to get my head around my amputation. For 4 months, I had to get myself ready before my amputation, before the scheduled surgery. And I did finally get there. It took several months for me to get there, but I did. So for those of you that it was taken away from you and you didn't have a choice, I can completely understand how waking up in a hospital or waking up from that surgery and not having had the choice or a voice in this happening to you, how much you must struggle. And that is a topic for a completely different time, and one I would love to have someone come on and talk to me about what the struggles were when things were taken from you unwillingly, and what you have to get over. Because from the people that I have met that have lost their leg at someone else's hand because of an accident or whatever, there's a lot of anger and resentment, and I can't even begin to imagine trying to first get over that hurdle of the anger you must feel towards the person who maybe was drunk driving or hit you because they missed the light or whatever. So I know that that's a part of the healing process that you all have to go through that I didn't have to address. So I can't imagine what it is that the hurdle you have to get over. But for those of you that elected or knew it was coming because you have, maybe diabetes, or you had a vascular issue and it had to come off and you knew it and you chose it, even if you didn't have 4 months like I did to get your head around it, you did elect it. And the idea is that you elected it for a better life, or to have life, because some of you were told if you don't get rid of the leg, you could die. And so I know many of you that are in that boat. Here is the reality of amputation, though. Once you do get out of that hospital, once you do spend weeks healing your incision and healing your heart and your mind, there is a process you must go through that every amputee goes through, and it is the fitting process. It is finding the prosthetist that listens to you, hears you, and does a great job for you, that fights for you. It's having an insurance company that will cover the cost, because what people aren't telling you when you are in the midst of all this is the fact that, yes, when you think amputation, you think the physical aspect of amputation. And that in and of itself is a very hard pill to swallow. We weren't designed to think outside the box of 2 arms, 2 legs. And the idea of actually someone cutting off your leg and you being fine and being able to live and adapt is crazy. Like that's a crazy place to go, and have to get through. But the physical aspect is only 1/3, well, 1/4, I would say, of the process. And quite frankly, it is literally a fourth of it. You have to deal with the physical, you have to deal with the emotional, you have to deal with the mental, and you have to deal with the financial. And some of those are almost unbearable. Financial, for most people, I would say, is the worst part of it, because with the financial, because being an amputee is expensive. I mean, prosthetics are not cheap. And the worst part is, if you don't have good insurance or you don't have insurance, you may struggle to even get a leg. Okay. And that's the reality. I struggled with really good insurance because my insurance company changed the wording on me from December to January. I had my amputation in December. In February, we decided to apply for my leg that was told it was covered, and they had changed the wording in January to not cover the part that I needed, and I had to fight them for it. So when you think about that, you're already struggling to adapt to your new lifestyle and the way you feel about yourself and the way it hurts and the way things are going, and not being able to walk on 2 legs. You now have to deal with the emotional effect of not being financially capable of affording something that's going to help you walk and live again. And that's where I was. I didn't have a leg. I thought I had one. I thought it was going to be no problem. That's what they told me. And then the next thing I know, I was in an emotional and financial battle for what was right. And that took 4 weeks of my life down the drain. I mean, I was an emotional train wreck, unable to do or care for anything or anybody else in that moment. And that is a bad place to be. And I know that I am not the only one that has gone through that or is going through that. So the financial burdens are really, really big. And yes, there are places you can go if you can't afford it. There are nonprofits so willing to help. You just need to look and do research. But it takes a lot out of you. You're already trying to deal with the reality of your new life and the healing process. But then to have to put in the grunt work to find the money or the means to actually get a leg to walk again is exhausting. And so I get that. The other aspects, and really the social aspect, a lot of it is entwined with mental and emotional, but things change, right? I have heard some people say that friends that they've always had abandoned them during this time frame. And I don't know what causes that. I don't know if people are don't like to be around that person because um, they're embarrassed by that person, or they're tired of hearing about their trauma when they have their own. Because remember, everyone's got something, guys. We have to remember we are not the only ones going through something. Just because I went through amputation doesn't mean my kid's not struggling in college, or my spouse isn't struggling at work, or having issues. We have to remember that our neighbors and our friends and our family and the supporters in our life also have day-to-day struggles. And after a while, listening to yours is really hard. And I'm not saying yours isn't a valid thing, but remember that there are others in the game of life, and everyone has their own struggle. And for the love of God, people that tell me, oh, I have this happen to me, but that's nothing compared to you. I will tell you honestly, when people compare their boo-boo to my boo-boo, it's not even a fair game. Like, I don't think of myself going through any problems. So when people are ashamed to tell me their worries or their fears or their struggles right now, please don't, because I'd rather hear about yours, because I'm done with mine. And I don't consider myself struggling, even though I'm going through the whole new fitting process and I'm still not fitting exactly the way I want. And I'm kind of waddling a little bit with my walk because of certain issues and bruising. I'm good. Mentally, I'm in a great space. How are you doing? Let me help you, because you know what? I get more benefit out of changing my perspective to somebody else than mine all the time. I'm tired of mine. Mine's the same story. It's been since 2013 when I got hurt. So, we have to deal with those things. So if you are noticing that friends are kind of disappearing from your radar, sometimes check yourself in the mirror. Make sure that it's not all about you every time you do get with people, because they want to be able to be heard and talk about their issues. And quite frankly, if you're an amputee, this might give you a nice reprieve from thinking about your problems, because your problems are going to always be there. They're not going to go away. But the friends' problems might be financial at the time. They might be relational. They might be job related. Those come and go. And your amputation, you're going to be an amputee the rest of your life. You've got to figure out how to make that not the 100% of what your focus is, and start moving on to something else and helping others. Because when we help others, we can kind of move forward in our own life. The other aspect of this, besides that social aspect, is obviously the mental game. We see a lot of amputees that really struggle to be out in public. Now, I would say that it's less likely now because we are getting so much more media coverage. You see the Paralympians all the time now. You see amputees in commercials and on shows now. It's if you're looking at all on social media, they're there everywhere. But I do know that a lot of people still struggle with being out in public. And I will tell you that sometimes, depending on how my leg fits and how I feel that day, I don't struggle with being out in public, but I do, and I will still go out, but I still do have a worry, because I can get out of my car after, like, maybe let's say I go to the gym and I'm driving someplace, I go to a store and I have to get out and, like, grocery shop, let's say. After sitting in my car for a few minutes, my body tightens up. I'm not as limber as I was when I got into the car or walking all day around my house. And those first, 20 to 30 steps in the parking lot are very, very focused walking steps, because I'm trying to make sure my legs on right is facing forward. I'm not toed out or toed in at all. And I really don't want to scuff my toe and hit the ground and then, kiss pavement. So there are still those days, even for me, and I'm going to go on 7 years here in December. And I still will have those moments every time I get out of the car and readjust my leg and start stepping. It's still not totally natural. And so I know that there are a lot of you out there that don't like to get out in public because you just are so embarrassed by your situation, unsure of your situation, or don't trust your situation. But it's time to get over that And as I always tell my husband, whenever I want to challenge myself and he thinks it might be too big of a challenge, I say, you know what? I think I can do anything if I take one step at a time. And I mean that metaphorically, but I also, as amputees, I mean that literally. If I want to climb a mountain around here, they're everywhere, right? Arizona, that's where we hike. I don't worry about how long it will take, how big the mountain is, how steep the climb is, what kind of terrain it is, which is mostly rock or dirt here. What I do think about is getting the exercise and literally one step after the next. One step at a time, you can accomplish anything. But if you look at the big picture, and that goes for walking, if you just became an amputee and you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to ever walk again with this thing on my leg, don't go there. Don't think big picture. Just take it one step at a time. When I first started walking, I literally just worked on areas in my home where I knew I had some walls in case I tipped or fell. And I worked on learning how to engage the knee of a microprocessor knee. And that takes hip movement, something we don't think about because we've walked all our lives. We're not like, how do we walk? How do we take a step? Our knee just gives and goes. But without an actual joint, a knee joint, you've got to engage it by hitting your hip the right way so that the knee will give. Otherwise, a microprocessor knee will stiff leg you. So you've got to learn how to do that. But you got to learn to do that before you go hiking or running. So don't think I want to run someday, but I don't think I'll ever be able to run again because I can barely walk. Well, that's today. You can barely walk today, but you can't run yet. Not I'll never be able to run or I can't run. Like I still struggle with running, mostly because I don't trust myself. And trust is something you have to build with your prosthetic. And with me, putting on my running blade is a very different feel than my everyday microprocessor knee. Running blade is either locked knee or full swing. There's nothing holding back the swing. So if you don't get your toe all the way up and out in front of you, your knee just crumples. A microprocessor knee, when you're walking, doesn't just crumple. It saves you from falling. A running blade will not. And trust me, I have done it so much that I now have like skateboarder gloves that have the metal here, so I don't break a wrist because I use crutches every night. If I have a broken wrist, I'm not using crutches. So yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects to being an amputee that people I don't think understand. When they become an amputee, you know, you have to address a lot of things to be healthy. You have to address the physical side of it. You have to address your emotions, because if you don't get past the emotions, you're going to really struggle with relationships, with even food and eating, because if you're not walking a lot right now, you can't just stress eat because that's just going to make things worse. And the other thing that people don't recognize, and I think is very important to talk about, especially as I'm getting older, is our sound limb. If I start stress eating because I don't trust my leg and I'm starting to sit around a lot, or I'm in a wheelchair because I don't like the way it feels and I give up on using my leg halfway through the day, I start to gain weight, right? Well, guess what? Gaining weight is horrible on your joints. And if you only have one joint, good joint, one sound side, and you've gained weight, you're putting an awful lot of pressure on your hip, your knee, and your ankle on your sound side. It already has a ton of extra pressure because no matter how well you try to walk, you will inevitably use your sound side a bit more than your prosthetic side. And it comes to proof. I went and did a little challenge where I got on pressure plates, balance plates, to see where my weight shift was. And it was like 60-40, I think is where I was, or 70-30, around there. So more than half of my weight was going through, even when I was standing on a balance plate, focusing on equal pressure and equal balance, I was more still on my good side than my prosthetic side. So think about doing that for years. All right. Then you add on weight, which is not going to help. Those are things that I don't think people really address, because as I've told my prosthetist a lot, like, people that become amputees are really only focused on their amputated side, right? The pains that you feel, the phantom pains that happen that they weren't expecting or really ready for. I don't think you can ever be ready for that. Dealing with putting on a socket that doesn't fit right, doesn't feel good, it's different, things like that. No one is thinking, I wonder what I'll feel like in 10, 20 years, or when I become 80 or 90 years old. How is everything else going to go? But you have to be thinking preventative. You need to be watching what you eat. You need to be trying to get exercise, even if it is wearing your leg all day. Even when you get tired, don't take it off, just sit down. Like, don't take it off because you need a break. Sit down when you need a break. That way, when you have to get up and get water, you have to learn to walk on it. And if you need to go to the bathroom, you have to walk on it versus getting in your wheelchair or getting on your crutches. Now, this is for the average amputee, I would say. But I know people that are struggling with shoulder issues and wrist issues from crutching or wheelchairing. And so they might have to do more of sitting around without their leg on. But you know where you're at, and you know when you're giving up a little too much and when you need to push through and be uncomfortable for a while. And those are aspects of being an amputee that I think a lot of people don't see, understand, or realize when they become one, or for those people that see amputees or support an amputee, they don't understand all that goes into. And I will tell you that even after my surgery, my revision this summer, I got right back to the gym without my leg on. I've been back to the gym with my my test socket and my neck socket, and I'm trying to work through the kinks. But sometimes the pain is so much in the morning that the mental anguish or the mental exhaustion is almost impossible to convince myself to go to the gym, because I would rather just sit and breathe through what pain I am feeling or discomfort or whatever. And I understand that aspect of it, because even though I'm a very type A person that likes to keep going and pushing the envelope, there have been plenty of days lately where I have chosen to just be at home. I don't take my leg off, but I've chosen to be at home and not out. Like right now, walking in this socket with my old sea leg, I took my dogs for a walk the other day because it finally cooled off enough, but it didn't feel good. You know, it's not a pleasant feeling. I'm not a big one for walking on pavement or on treadmills. That's why I like hiking, because every step's a little different. But when you walk on a treadmill or walk out on pavement and just walk your streets or your sidewalks, it is the same hit every time on your leg. So if you have a spot that's wearing a painful area on you or a raw spot, all you're doing is ripping that up, or bruising, and it doesn't stop. But when you hike, you get different hits because of the way your foot lands on rocks and stuff and pushes up. So I have been struggling myself with just getting out. I mean, I want to walk every day because I know that will help me get fit. And I don't feel very fit right now after the ups and downs of the surgery since June. And I'm feeling a little behind the eight ball right now. But I can't even push myself through walking. So all I can do is just keep pushing forward day by day, little by little, and get to where I need to be while I wait on the process of healing and fitting and new leg and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I know this is a big topic, and actually I could probably take physical, emotional, mental, and financial and separate those out into different podcasts. And maybe I will, and delve deep into those a little bit more, deeper into those. But I just think it's worth touching on those subjects, especially right now. If you are listening and you are struggling in your socket, check yourself in the mirror. See what it is that's really bothering you. Is it the leg? And if so, talk to your prosthetist. Is it your emotional game or your mental game? Are you feeling weak, unsupported, frustrated, angry, resentful? If any of those emotions are coming up, you're dooming yourself, because you cannot physically heal if you mentally or emotionally are unstable right now, and that happens. So you need to address the internal first before you can really tackle what's happening to you physically. So I haven't done a call to action lately, and I'm really frustrated with myself. I don't know why I've forgotten the last few weeks, but call to action this week is look yourself in the mirror and find out what it is you're struggling most with, and be honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, you're never going to heal correctly. So this is the time to get real. And it can be very hard to even admit to yourself where you're struggling. So look yourself in the mirror, find out what it is you're really struggling with. Is it your physical appearance and a shame you feel because of the way you look now? Do you not feel like you are a full person or sexy or the way you used to be? And if that's the case, you need to address that. If you are struggling with the way people see you, or someone in your life who has, I don't know, torn you down and made you feel less of a person now, or maybe you've been abandoned by your friends or some family member, or maybe you've lost your job, and it's all stemming through this amputation. I want you to figure out what you need to address and address it today. You need to stop waiting on it, because it's not going to get better till you fix what's wrong. Amputation is hard enough to deal with the actual movement of it, the physical aspect of it, without having emotional, mental, or financial baggage that comes with it. So what you need to do is figure out what steps you need to take to heal that aspect of you. And hey, you know what? If you need to see someone, a therapist, see that person. Maybe they can help you talk through some of that stuff. If it's financial, make a list of people, go online, find nonprofits, instead of trying for anything that they if you are missing friends that you're not seeing around anymore, maybe it's time to reach out to them and listen, be there for them. I have found that lately baking and crafting has helped me get through some things, and I have been sharing with my neighbors here that I know might be struggling with some things in life, and I need to check myself because I spent all summer healing, that now it's time to get back to me. And I like to be able to be a good neighbor. I like to be out and seeing my neighbors and checking in with them, and if they're struggling, I want to be there for them. And that allows me to just pull myself out of my own issues that really aren't issues, but I've made them into issues, because when you're in your four walls here and nothing else is going on, all you think about is what's wrong with you, or what you can't do, or what you wish you could do, but right now is not happening. And you wonder if you'll ever be able to do X, Y, Z again. So it's time to take yourself out of your situation, step back, and get perspective. Perspective is received when you go out and see the real world and what people are dealing with out there, and leave your baggage here and be there for somebody else. So whatever it is you are struggling with, and you may not know, that's why I said check yourself in the mirror. Literally go to your bathroom mirror and be like, what am I doing right now? What's wrong with me? What am I struggling with? And write it down. Get a diary going, a journal going. Write down what your struggles with. Write down what you want to be able to do and what is stopping you from doing those things. And get real with yourself, because this is hard. If your socket is not fitting, that is something to talk to your prosthetist about, not complain to your spouse or your friends, because they can't help you, but your prosthetist can. If you are struggling with forgiving the person that wronged you, that made you lose your limb, then maybe it's time to repeatedly say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. Remember, forgiving them does not let them off the hook. It just allows you to live your life. And if you can't forgive the person who wronged you, and it might be years from, years ago that it happened, this might be the stumbling block and the emotional roadblock you are feeling when it comes to being successful as an amputee. So things like that can happen. And like I said, look for some nonprofits. If you're struggling financially with this, See what nonprofits are out there. Don't just sit there and start begging your friends for money to help you. Find the nonprofits that were set in motion to help amputees live good lives that just can't afford to do so because it is really expensive. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope you are approaching your amputation with a positive mindset. And if you aren't, that's okay right now. Just don't sit in that negative space for too long because it can become a lifestyle and a habit. So figure out the wrong things, figure out the things that you don't like. How can you change them and put it into action? Actions speak louder than sitting there in your mental game and getting all tied up there. So I hope this, like I said, helps you. I hope that this gives you a little bit more of a clue on what's going on with the amputee in your life or your own side inside of you. And if you're not an amputee and don't know an amputee, this is what happens to us. This is where we go. And it's not just about the surgery itself. That is I would have to say in all, that has been the easiest part of my whole journey is the amputation. It's everything that comes with it afterwards, the baggage. And so we need to address that so we can live our lives. And you can. It is not only for select people, but it is for the people that learn to get out of their own way, help themselves, and push forward. And sometimes we push forward through the hard stuff. Sometimes we have to push forward through the tears. Sometimes we have to grit our teeth and really bear down and get through stuff that maybe nobody else in your life will ever understand, but that will make you stronger and it will make you more successful when you learn to push through on your own accord and achieve the things you want to achieve, and you will be so excited when you start achieving those goals. So do this one step at a time. You can do this. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope that you had a great 3-day weekend with Labor Day and are excited about the fall season coming. I'm already getting into fall mode and want to decorate my house, but my husband said not quite yet. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit, but I hope that everything goes well and you have a very blessed week ahead of you. And I can't wait to see you next week. And as always, be healthy, be happy, be you.